okay, let's just say that you sell me a house for 50 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And needs work. And so I get the loan from a private money lender, and then when it's all ready, I go to get a loan from a traditional bank, right? So then when they refinance, is it going to be the 50 or is it going to be...
Good question. That's a great question. So they will, if you've owned it for 6 months, they will loan you 80% of the appraised value. Okay? So that's a really important thing to know going into the deal, is how much will it appraise for, and therefore how much of my cash into the deal am I going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So let's imagine for a second that you buy this deal and you expect it to appraise for $100,000. Well, so if it appraises for $100,000, you know that the bank's going to give you $80,000. So if you end up into the deal of your own cash or your own private money for more than $80,000, you're not going to get that cash back.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the portion in excess of what your loan is going to be for, that's going to be your cash out of pocket into that deal, and you're going to have to leave it there until you refinance or do a home equity loan, or you're just going to have to leave it there and say like, all right, well, they're loaning me 80, and after my purchase price and my closing costs and my rehab expenses, I'm into the deal for 90, and so I'm going to have 10 grand that I'm not going to get back. That's not going to be accessible to me for more flips and more rentals, and so it'll kind of like, you know, it'll disable your bankroll. Let's say like your
Right.
available cash for doing more deals.
So then it all comes into the numbers beforehand, because then you say, oh, okay, if I'm out of it 10 grand,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for 90 or whatever, and then the rent will generate me, I don't know, $300 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then slowly I'll be making it back, but I won't be making it back like...
Yeah.
Okay.
You're exactly right, man. And so that amount that you get back, that's your cash on cash return. Okay, so let's say I'll get 80 grand back from the bank, but it cost me 90, so I have 10 grand in the deal, and I'm gonna make 300 a month. So my cash on cash return, you know, is 3,000 for the year. 3,000 after 10 months, so 3,600 for the year. So you're gonna invest 10 grand, and you're gonna get 3,600 back every year. So your cash on cash return, you know, 30, 60, 90, you're gonna have your cash back in about 3 years. So that's a 3-year cash on cash return is what that's called. And that's what most seasoned investors look for. Like, okay, that looks like a deal, but what's my cash on cash return? And you can also break that 3,600 per year out into a percentage. So, you know, let's say I'm gonna make a 30% cash on cash return on that 10 grand. Well, that's better than you're gonna see in any other investment model, like hands down. Nobody's getting 30% returns. So in my opinion, like, that would be a deal that I would wrap up and I would push off to you. I'd be like, Jose, buy this one. This has a 30-year cash on cash return if you spend this much on rehab, and if it appraises for 100,000. And yeah, those are the two ifs, really.
Those are the big risks.
Those are the big risks, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'll identify that as a deal. Like, hey, Jose, I think you'll be into that deal for about 90 grand, and I think you'll get 80 grand back from the bank after it appraises for 100. But all those are like, you'll wanna confirm those numbers, because it's not a science. You know, it's not a guarantee how much it's going to appraise for, and that's going to be something I'm like, you're going to have to settle with that risk. But if everything works out the way I see it from my experience, then it should be a 30% cash on cash return, and that looks great. That's a deal that I would roll the dice on. And so that, dude, you've come a long. Have you been studying? You've come a long way since we first. Like, your questions are on point.
Well, so yeah, I have been studying a lot, you know, and you know, I remember you were talking about bigger pockets and all that, and I opened that account again. I couldn't remember my password. I was like, oh, no. So I did that, and you know, just seeing what everybody else is doing, you know.